That's a non-negotiable. There are certain boundaries that you set. And then I think you have a conversation about why the boundary was set. And then you let them know exactly why these things are in place. And also, if there's someone that's untrustworthy, tell them what you feel. And you know, there's a way in which they can gain sort of that independence, but if they choose not to, it's still on them. You have no control over the outcome. What you have control over is the situation, meaning this is what we will allow. And you're setting those boundaries, that's what you have control over. The boundaries don't move because of the child's proclivity or behavior. The boundary doesn't change. So,
And I think, and what my goal here in this is right now is to really give tools on how it is for the person, because someone is going to definitely say, well, my child is, what's the old school words, hard headed, being bad, right?
okay.
So what I'm
So,
trying to think of is how is it that we can help them to move in a way that is most healthy for the situation? Number one, maintaining and honoring the boundary that's there, but also two, honoring that child. And I want to add to it, to me, um, some of what you were saying. I want to really flesh out a little bit more. To me, when you have a child that is consistently breaching the boundary, to me, that is a hard stop and a hard pause. And it's time for a conversation, a deeper conversation into what's going on with that child that they feel like um, they don't have to follow the rules of the home. Because I think that kind of speaks to something deeper in how it is that they've been, how we got to that point. Wouldn't you say? Right? We oftentimes talk about how sometimes we would see kids out, and we don't have any judgment for it, but we would see kids out and they'd be throwing fits and tantrums, right? And our children just didn't. I think it was Mahogany, our oldest,
no,
one time.
I don't really,
What happened?
we didn't get into tantrums and stuff.
Yeah.
We don't do that. There's just
Yeah.
a certain thing that we just weren't
You
going
got
to
to
tolerate.
speak up, Richard.
I said, there's a certain thing we just weren't going to tolerate. You're 2 years old. I feed you. You eat because I give you food.
Yeah.
If you are such that you don't want to eat it, I guess you won't eat it. But you don't get to control or dictate what happens in this house.
Yeah.
I think that's what we established from the beginning with ours. So,
And that's a
that's
philosophy,
yeah.
right? That's really a philosophy. And I think what we did was, the reason I brought that up is to say, talking about, when we saw kids having tantrums and things like that, other children, like I said, we don't have any judgment for it, but what it does is it makes me think, okay, what's going on in the household that says, and of course this is outside of anybody that has a child that has a special need, right? We're talking about all things level, right? That everybody is okay and all things what would be considered quote unquote normal. Um, we really start to think about, okay, what's happening in the household, generally speaking, that makes them think that the only way that I can get your attention, the only way that I get what I want from you is to behave in this way. And we started to literally think like that. And we started to be intentional about how it is that we interacted with our children. One way that I want to give as a tool that was very helpful for us, right? And this will, again, the reason that I'm giving this information is because I want you to understand that what you're seeing by with a child, let's just say a teenager that's consistently breaching those boundaries, is there is something that happened beforehand that makes them think this is the way that they get the attention that they need or get what it is that they want. One thing we did with our children when we were young, when they were younger, and credit to my husband, and I really followed his lead on this, is they were little, they were kids. If something was going on with them, if they were crying or if they were acting in some kind of way that we were like, hey, what's going on here? What would you do, sweetheart? You remember? He would get on there.
Get on my knees,
Hey,
yes, and talk to them
let-
directly
eye
because
to eye.
I'm 6'6", so I'm talking from this high place,
Yeah,
talking down to them. They're
that's
looking
right.
up. I just try to put myself in their position.
That's right.
I try to put myself in their position. What does that look like? My big, loud voice.
Mm-hmm.
They're scared. So if they're scared, that's altering sort of their perspective, their
That's
behavior.
right.
So I
And the
wanted to.
goal is discipline, not control. Discipline, not control. So how do we facilitate that and how we talk to them, right?
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah. So I wanted to meet them at their level, but still let them know that I was here, but there were things that they had to do.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I wanted to find out why they were having their emotion, even if I could just feel their emotion, whether it was right or wrong. I just wanted to acknowledge that they were there in this state of, let's say, they're not pleased at the moment.
Discontent.
Discontent, right?
Mm-hmm.
They were
Mm-hmm.
discontent in the moment. So
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to be there with them,
Mm-hmm.
and then that was,
It really was the segue for them to come to him more proactively to say, I'm feeling this way, as opposed to starting to scream, right?
exactly.
They were able to then communicate it and say, I'm feeling this way. Daddy, that hurt my feelings. Daddy, that literally hurt. Or Daddy, I'm hungry. Or Daddy, I don't want to eat that now, right? Whatever that looks like, they were able to communicate that in a way. And it made them more proactive and it became more reciprocal, right? Because it's discipline, not control. It wasn't about me just telling you what to do, but to really empower them and say, you have a say so on what your day looks like and what you eat and where we go and if you go, right? Based on the actions it is that you are producing beforehand. So that's what I would say to someone bringing someone up. To the person that already has, for example, that teenager, right? And this does not point any blame or judgment, right? We're not saying you're not good or you need to do better. We just are where we are, right? And these are things for your consideration because you're not getting the outcomes you want. So consider some of these perhaps as an option to do that. In talking about that teenager, it's a full stop, meaning we would have to have a conversation about what are you feeling, what's happening with you, and letting them know that you are genuinely interested in how they feel. It doesn't change the boundary or rule, right? But I'm genuinely interested in what's going on with you. It's important to me that you are well, right? So, question literally saying things like that. My favorite line was, how can I help? Right? That means so much. How can I help? And really giving them the space to not know the answer, right? What you said? I really thought it was very important to really give my kids the space to say, I don't know. And to leave the door open to say, well, listen, I don't either because I'm a human, right? As a mom, I'm a person first. I'm a person that is a mom. I'm a woman that is a mom, but I'm a woman first. I'm a person first, right? But helping them to understand that you're human and you're trying to figure it out just like them. You don't have all the answers, but we have a goal here. And in this moment, we're calling it a rule or a boundary, right? And we have to do what it takes to move towards that because this is a non negotiable. And I want to help you to get there. But we can't go any further until we do that. Right? And
strong because I know we weak for the kids. Oh, baby, I'm so sorry. I wanted you to go. They crying. Again, those emotions.
yes.
Again, when you're acknowledging their emotion, you have to separate that and say, okay, I understand your emotions, but here's the hard line. This is what we can't allow.
That's right.
But you have to be consistent. Basically, hold your position there
Yes.
and do not relinquish it because I'm daddy. Those are my baby girls. It's hard sometimes
Yes.
to hold that line with them.
Yes.
So,
It is very hard. We didn't get it right all the time, right? Some days were better than others. But we had, our mindset was such that these girls, these beautiful girls that we created, they are their own. They are their own. We love them tremendously and will be there for them always. But this is theirs to do. And if that is so, how are we showing up in their lives to give them everything it is that we understand them to need to be successful at? Right? And that means we're not doing certain things for you. We're here to support you and cheer you on as you do it. We just want to give you the tools and set you up for the set you up for the win is what I always say. Set you up to be able to do the things it is that you want to do in life. This is your preparation ground. It's not forever. What were you about to say? Okay. Yeah. So anyway. Well, alrighty. I think that's the last thing it is that I wanted to say on parenthood. I talked about what that looks like from when they are a toddler, right? And who it is that you are in their life as their parent, but they are not yours. They are not, oftentimes, one of my favorite slogans it is that I say all the time is that our children are not our do-overs. They are not our do-overs. They are not here so, oh, I didn't get to be a cheerleader, so my child gonna cheer. She gonna be a cheerleader. She might not want to cheer. You might not want to cheer.
Really.
For real, in real life. But we have this proclivity to make things out to be what we want them to be. And children are not one of those things that can.
But I think it's a good thing when you have an experience, when you've acknowledged the experience
Yeah.
that you've had as a child, you want
Yes.
to make sure that you give your child the best experience.
For sure. Yes.
Really look at giving them the best experience for them
Yes.
and giving them the parent that you want to be to them.
Yes.
That's it.
Yes.
Not
I
giving
think that's
them.
where we start.
Yeah,
And then I think they tell us what they need as they get older.
for sure.
And I think we have to be nimble to
For sure.
what it is that we learned from them
Mhm.
in this exchange of parent child,
Right.
of relationship. Because you are in a relationship with your child. Yeah, I couldn't agree more to
Very
that.
nuanced.
Yes.
Very nuanced. I think it's important to acknowledge that nuance
Yeah.
and to really get into what that looks like and sort of peel it apart and say, all right, this is what I'm feeling, and to know that, hey, maybe I am exerting something on them or placing something on them that's really mine. But when you are self-aware, you can kind of know when you're doing that.
Yep.
Right? So
That's so true.
the work of parenting is really the work on ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Right? When we're looking at our children, we're really looking at ourselves sometimes.
That is, I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more. But to bring this full circle before I sign out, this really all comes back to mindset. You have to understand who it is that you are, what it is that you want, and that will dictate what it is that you do, how you raise your children. Again, the mate you pick, all right? The place you live, right? It just informs every single thing in your life. But first, you have to corral your mind and establish your mindset. The way it used to show up in my, or what it is, how it is that I used to describe it to my children as they were growing up, is what is your standard? What is your standard? Right? And what that means is what is it that is allowable for you? What is it that you will accept? What is it that you want? Right? That's just another way of saying mindset. So whatever it is that you need to use in order to understand that you're it. You are the source. You are the you that you've been looking for. You are 100% your responsibility. All of that, right? Whatever it is that you need to understand that I need to establish establish the fact that my mindset has to be in order first, in order for me to go forward and create the life it is that I want. And yes, that includes raising your children in the way it is that you want. I need to do that first, and that is pertinent to everything and everything that is related to my life. All right, so I think that is it. Thank you again, husband.
My pleasure. Anytime you want to grace the camera with my presence, just call.
You
And I'll
heard?
be there.
Call you?
Just call me.
Okay.
I'm here.
Okay. You all heard it. It's on camera. I've got to record it now. But I definitely am going to bring them back. I think it's number one. I enjoy talking to you. Yes, I enjoy. It's more fun to talk to you than just the camera. And wait for feedback. But I also love how we kind of springboard off of each other and thought. We definitely have a lot of things that we're congruent on, but we think differently. Number one, in my opinion, off the basic fact that I'm a woman and he's a man. Can you say that?
For sure.
And we both value each other's opinions, so it makes for a really robust and what I would consider healthy perspective of both worlds, really. So again, I appreciate you for joining me again here on camera. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Remember to subscribe and share this with a friend, and I am going to look forward to your feedback on what it is that we discussed today around parenthood. If you can see that correlation to how that links to mindset and how it is that that produces your outcomes, what it is you want to hear us talk about in the future, I would appreciate you letting me know in the comments. We are going to get out of here, but until we see each other again, remember, it is time to move beyond everyone else's expectations of who we ought to be